Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today is going to be such a wonderful night because in acrylic, on canvas, step by step, I'm going to show you how you can paint the Kringle Tingle, which is this gorgeous Santa scene. We're really going to focus on how to paint Santa's eyes. We're going to get into how to paint Santa's beard, and we're actually going to maybe even improve the fluff around the hat and everything so that he's just the most Santa-y that he could be. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He helps me do these lessons by reminding me that we have a live show and turning the cameras on, making sure that things progress forward as they need to. He also sometimes will catch the chat when I'm focused on teaching the painting and you have a question during the live. He may ask me during that live show. If you have a question, put the question all in caps because that's how we see it. We won't feel like you're yelling at us. We won't feel that. Now I've got my 8x8 surface out and my initial colors to start the painting. If you, before we begin, want to see all the colors we might be using, you can check the description below. It has information. If you go to the website, you should be able to download the free traceable and print it out and then transfer it on. I'm going to show you that method here. So that should be pretty easy. We're going to be just using acrylic paint and water. I don't think tonight will be any special mediums. I think probably the most unusual thing we might be using is this titanium white fluid white paint, which you can either just thin the white that you have with water if that's what you've got and it won't hurt you in any way, will not be harmed, or just use craft paint. I like deco. I like deco. So the first thing we have to do is we put our wish and intention in our 8x8 surface on our little round table. And this is we heard from someone we used to work with who's lost a lot of family members. And so that inspired this wish, which is comfort and support for those that are needing it right now. Because people are going through a lot. What?
Yeah. Gotta remind you not to wear green plaid.
You know, when I find out that I'm supposed to be live and I have like this is my not makeup and you're lucky the teeth are brushed before the show. So I'm going to be a little bit invisible.
Sparkly.
I'm going to be, or sparkle and invisible. It's okay. It will not impact your lesson. It will impact his video experience, but it won't impact you. And that's the important thing. So I'm actually going to start this with a pretty dark skin tone that we're going to paint all over everything. I included in the description a link to how to make skin tones using hard primaries, which is cad yellow, cad red, and phthalo blue. Those are the most difficult primaries to make skin tones with. And that lesson shows you how easy that is. So you're going to find out from this that these skin tones are actually pretty easy to do. I'm going to take a little yellow ochre and a bit of cad red. And again, this is going to be pretty dark because I want to be able to see my traceable lines over it. I'm going to add a little brown. But what this does is this gives us a nice base that will help all of our skin tones look really good on top of it. So I'm going to do that here. And will help our canvas feel maybe not so streaky or transparent. This is a good practice, especially if you're doing student paints, because sometimes they tend to be a little transparent. I'm going to take a nice 1-inch brush here, and I'm going to brush my words out. Put them into the intention of the canvas. And get this right here. And I'm going to load up my brush and just paint everything. This mix of yellow ochre, cad red, and burnt umber. That's what it was. Yellow ochre, cad red, burnt umber. I haven't even gotten into my titanium white yet. Now, this lesson is a little different than the weekend. On the weekend, we have steps. You've got a PDF. Everything is super written out. This is when you kind of like, you're like ready to kind of, you're still needing like step-by-step instructions. It's still for beginners, but you're ready to do a little more. If you're still learning how to paint and you're not feeling like you're ready for this, I say still jump in because you're going to learn a lot. So you can see this is almost like a terracotta brown. Right? Almost like a terracotta, but this is going to make a nice base for everything that we put on top and give the whole piece a warm and finished feeling. What do you think of that?
Pretty good.
Kind of a terracotta. And then if you can see that if I take just a smidge of this, color over here, I very quickly get into some skin tone. So It's really sometimes about what's called having a master mix, which is just knowing what your basic skin tone mixes are. And then leaning into that, we just did a reproduction painting of Fleur de Lis, a very famous girl in the garden. We were using just mostly yellow ochre and white. It was shockingly good. Now I'm going to dry this because the next stage doesn't really work if the paint's wet. Not in any way. I don't see the chat right now, so I'm not ignoring anybody. But John does.
All right. So, I see everybody over here. Thank you guys for coming and joining us. It's nice to see everyone. I don't know if I can probably give Cinnamon some view. I forget. I can sometimes. There she goes. Give her some chat window so she can see it. So thank you guys coming and joining us. Don't forget, don't use heat when doing your drying of your surface. That's because heat can cause your paint to get sticky. It can cause color shift, all sorts of problems like that. Just make sure you thoroughly dry it with regular cold air.
And you want it to be kind of very cool and very dry at this stage. That way, when the acrylic is warm, it tends to be a little soft and sticky. So that can cause your pencil to leave an impression, or your chalk, or whatever you're using. We're using Cerro paper. Oh, I see Victoria C. and Thelma Smith and Christine Smith and Becky and Marilyn. And Marilyn is wishing Rita some support, which I always think is there. And Katie Lyons says, thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. Happy birthday, Katie. That is really terrific. I'm excited about that. Now, I'm going to use a product. This is called Saral paper, S-A-R-A-L paper. It is for art. And I'm going to tape this bright yellow side down onto my surface. If you didn't have this, you could use chalk and rub it on the back of your traceable printout. You could use pastel. You shouldn't use oil pastels. You can use graphite, like just a regular pencil. I have a video on how to use a traceable. If you've never done it before, not to worry. I have a whole video on how to do that. All right, I'm going to put this down here, and I tape this down as well. Whenever you're using a traceable, the big thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you have the piece placed where you want it on your surface and that you've affixed it so it doesn't shift or move on you, because that can mess up the transfer. You might wonder, is tracing cheating? And I like to freehand things, and that's fine for me. But even when I do, I still work things out on less expensive paper, on less expensive materials, so I can work out my mistakes, work out my thoughts. And then when I am putting that subject onto my more expensive media, especially in watercolor, I use this transfer method as a way to do this. I learned this in art school. I also learned projection and gridding and a really cool chiaroscuro technique. So these are not cheats. These are techniques. I feel like the only thing that's cheating in art is to do forgery, which none of you are likely to be up to.
Is this the same as carbon paper?
This is a lot like carbon paper. Carbon paper sometimes doesn't transfer very nicely onto acrylic because of the surface of the canvas and the plasticness of the paint. So sometimes that is a bit of a challenge. That's why I like Cerro paper. In Michael's, the only paper there that I tried that I liked was the Martha Stewart one. That one actually worked pretty well on the acrylic. Most of it. Now, when you have one of these, then you just go over all your major lines, and you can see what I do here is I kind of rub back and forth on my lines. And what this is going to do is transfer the image onto my surface. Now, I give you guys all the lines. You're going to figure out real quick that in painting, a lot of what you do disappears as you paint. That's the nature of it because you're covering surfaces. So I'm going to show you a really cool trick to not lose the lines that you need as a beginner. By the way, this transfer method works with anything. It works with your trip photographs. It looks with your pet photos. So if you have a pet you're trying to paint, you can actually use this method to put the photo that you're trying to paint on your canvas. If drawing is not yet your skill. I do recommend learning to draw, but it's okay if it's not yet your skill. How you doing, John?
Good.
I think it's very important to capture the little bowl on his nose and then a little bit of his Santa lash eyebrows. He's got some eyebrows. I can tell you that right now. I like to also make sure that I am tracking the major lines around the eyes and nose because that will help me. Now, the glasses can be a bit of a challenge, but I'll show you some tricks that we've got with this that you're really, really going to like. I'm going to show you a really cool trick with zinc. That you're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd known about that the last time I was making glasses. If you are here because my mom shouted me out to all of my mom's fans, if you're wondering who that is, that's Ginger Cook. She's on Mondays at night doing who knows what. All kinds of mayhem, I suppose. Mayhem, mayhem, mayhem. All right. Pulling this out here, a little bit under the lip. And you can see this just goes real quick. I sometimes like to give myself the gesture lines here. That's the flow of the beard. And the reason is that it can help me keep track of the energy and flow of what is happening. And again, I'm just letting myself know where these major objects are. I can work out the rest of it as I'm working. Let's see if we did well. Oh, we did perfect. We did so good. And this is what I mean. I really like Cerro paper for this reason. And this is designed to be used in art. This particular product. My mom actually found it. Got me turned. I was complaining about my graphite woes. And she owed me a few tips because usually she calls me for material tips. But that's the one where it went the other way, and I'm really grateful to have found that. I'm going to put out some Mars Black. I'm going to drop it on my canvas. Definitely don't duplicate that part of the tutorial. That's not a technique. That's just me being clumsy hands. And I'm going to do kind of an important thing. I'm going to take a little bit of my black and brown together and mix them together. I thin it. I've got a number 1 detail brush. And this is before I get going on anything, because it is really easy in a painting to lose, especially as you start painting in big areas, structures as you want them. Even when you draw it yourself, even when you're like ready to freehand it, or grid it even. So what will happen is that as you're doing those things, you'll paint over all of your hard work and your thought out areas and then have to kind of reconstruct them in the painting in your head. However, if you take the time to do some of this, you can leave little bits of the dark lines here and there to guide you later. And even with black paint, it's real easy to paint out. So you're not like stuck. You're just trying to make sure that the big objects that you've got to have, like where his nose lines are working or where, you know, maybe some of the eye lines are going, are there. So you know how to get your binasal folds there. You know, maybe another little bit of his lid coming here, and he's got another little lid. What's great is I like painting older people, not just Santa. Not just Santa. I like painting older people because wrinkles are awesome in art. They are not awesome when you have them, but they are awesome in art when you're an artist and you're painting them, because they give you a chance to make your artwork so interesting. So again, this is just Mars Black and a little of my burnt umber. And I'm going to put just some of these more important lines where I want them. Everything paints out pretty easily. So it won't be hard. You won't lose things. if you just do this little extra step. And you can always add more.
Yeah.
I'm also going to kind of give myself these glass lines. I would say freehanding the glasses would be the most challenging
Yeah.
part of the painting because they have architecture to them.
They got to be round.
Well, and they have to be in a certain perspective because his face is at a 3/4 turn. His face is also, the camera's sort of like above his face, so there's a bit of a down angle. There's a bunch that's happening around his face. Good idea to let yourself know when that face ends and beard begins. Now, I find that I don't really need a lot on the beard. It's, again, just the big structural stuff around the face and the glasses, where my brain wants to make big, big assumptions about everything. We have nice little lines that are going to go a bunch of places, but we'll get those in once he's in. So there you go. So what you want to do to get here is you want to paint the entire surface a mix of your cad yellow, your cad red, and your burnt umber. It's going to give you almost a terracotta color. Any range of this. It could be more brown. It could be more red. That isn't going to hurt you. It's just this painting, the surface being painted with a solid color so that as we expressively apply paint on top of it, we don't have white canvas showing through. After the surface was completely dry, we used a product called Saral paper, SARAL, double taped with our traceable, so it was affixed. The traceable we print out the size of our surface, and that lets you do this any size you want, especially if you work out that tiling issue on your printer. When you learn to use the poster tool, you'll be like, this is what I've been looking for. Right? So we use that to get the basic construct lines on there. And then we took a mix with a detail brush of the burnt umber and the Mars black to create some anchoring lines so as we paint, we don't lose the structure of the face. Now, if you're really new to painting faces, this step will really help you kind of circumvent some of the challenges that you could have until you become more familiar with the structure of a face.
Mm-hmm.
I need something to drink. Oh, my goodness.
All right. Let me see if I can get that for you.
All right. So, I am so ready to do things. Everyone is just chatting. It's really nice. Are you guys excited to paint this? Are we going to hang this on our wall? Are you giving this as a gift? If you're giving this as a gift, a really good article on how to ship is over on the Golden Artist Colors website. You can just go how to ship a painting, and they actually have instructions on how to ship a crate. So even if temperatures are really hot or temperatures are really cool, your acrylic painting is not damaged. I will tell you while John's getting me the drink and we're ready to go on to the next thing. Another thing I'd like to say to you on how to give a gift as a painting is your emotional space. It's the easiest things about giving a gift, a painting gift, is how to wrap it, how to ship it, how to do that. These are all things that are on the internet. You can find lots of instruction about it and solve your problems very quickly. What is difficult is the emotional journey, because sometimes, you give a painting to a family member and the family members, they respond in an unexpected way. Maybe they respond in a not kind way, and that can be really challenging and hurtful. So I would suggest that you give gifts of your art to the people you know will cherish them and will respect them until you become very comfortable and confident as an artist, and where other people's opinions can't necessarily rock you. I would not give, now I happen to love my mother-in-law. I'm very lucky with my mother-in-law. I like my mother-in-law. I give her art all the time. But I know not everybody gets my mother-in-law. So maybe your mother-in-law or father-in-law or whoever it is maybe not as nice. Yeah, that's what a fruit basket's for. Just saying, that's what, it's the love and respect you've got to give, but don't give your heart maybe in that moment, because the people who deserve your heart are the people who are going to respect it. I'm going to get a filbert. This is a number 4 filbert Isaby Isocryl brush. This is by Raphael, and they make a very nice acrylic brush. There are many acrylic brushes. Oh, Victoria C says, will the black blend in later in the painting? I'm afraid it will stand out too much. It will. And actually, as we reduce the black and we paint the black back, you're going to love this technique. I think I took it upstairs. I wish I had the painting we did last night for the patrons. It would explode your brains when you guys saw it because we actually use this method. But let's start out painting a little bit of his face. And we're going to start out with a basic kind of yellow ochre and white. All right, so let's get some yellow ochre. Oh, our terracotta got in there. And that's okay. We just want a base little skin tone. So that's a little bit of that red and brown is into that too. And I'm going to come here and start. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to have to go investigate.
I mean, maybe. Only the smallest amount of these lines that I put in will remain, even as I'm painting. We paint a lot of it out. They're just going to help us know where our structures are. A little more of my yellow ochre into that. There we go. And you can see that the underpainting, this terracotta color, is coming through, and instead of graying out the skin or anything, it's keeping it very rosy and warm. I'm going to lose some of my glasses to the nose, but because I have a little bit of a guide in, I'll be able to get them back in. Now, as I'm coming through in areas like the nose, I might go ahead and get a little more of my cad red into that. Now we're going there. A little more cad red. Also probably going to be a little stronger on the cad red on areas around cheek. Because, you know, those rosy cheeks that our Kris Kringle, our Kris Kringle here, he would have. He's the Channing Tatum of the North. Sorry, what's in me today? So you can see we lose a little bit of it, but he starts to come forward. As I go back, I can always get more into my ochre. And it looks like I'm going to need to get into my burnt umber because over here is a bit more in shadow. I'm going to leave just barely any of that, and there's just the faintest lines. I can still see them. They can still guide me, even as I'm painting it up. If you go forward too much while it's still wet, you can just rub that back with a finger. It's not even a problem. It is amazing to me how just a little bit of anchor, this again has a little bit more of the burnt umber. And let's just real quick, just real fast, do a couple things just in case you've never done any of this work. Your first skin tone will be just a little yellow ochre and white. You can get a little red into that, a little of the cad red to rosy it up. And then if you've got to get something into the shadow, you get a little burnt umber. That's most of the journey. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. And then like anything else, painting a face is all about painting value. So if I know I've got deeper, darker values up under the hat, I'm going to be getting into that. Right now, we just need to start kind of putting down those first thoughtful layers. I'm going to get a little more brown into that. Right here in the inside, you know, I do want to have a darker color, and I want to have another darker color right here. But I can go into my white. Stopping at our little jawline here. And we're going to block this in just real fast. And you can see we haven't lost so much that we couldn't paint that in. Right here on that nostril, I'm going to lighten it up a bit. And blend that in. So first layer, layer 1. Miller says, do we paint over the black lines or try to avoid them? So what I really try to do with my black lines is where I need to know where something is, I can paint over it as long as I can still see some of it. I just need a guide. I don't really need a guide. But what I found is that with people who are new to painting faces or new to painting something, if they have a little bit of a guide, then they can easily deal with it. You will be painting over most of it. A lot of that will disappear. You want to be able to see it, see how it's very faint. I don't know if John can get up on this, but what I have now is pretty faint. Right? It's there. I can see it, and it's going to get fainter every layer that I apply. Just the nature of it. Water that I don't put my brush into.
Clean water.
Clean water. I may go ahead and add a little bit of my magenta over by my red. A little bit of magenta over by my red. Because we've got a bit of a lip here. And it is dark, so let's get some, maybe a bit of our brown into that, because it's going to be very, very diminished under the beard. As I come back, I know I've got lots and lots of hair that I'm going to be bringing on here, but I want to make sure that that has a shadow. And I can see where that's going. Right. The other thing that I can do is I can take a little of my blue and do some interesting things. Eyes. What really throws people off about eyes is a lot of times they want to make them white. They want to make the area outside of the colored part of the eye, the iris here, white. You don't want to do that. It isn't. It's quite dark. And in painting, it's better that we paint it dark and then highlight it. Right? So I'm going to take a little of this kind of brown and magenta color, and I'll get some white into it. Maybe a little more brown. Smidge of black. Where we start. So that mix was a little of your quinacridone and some of your cad red. I added burnt umber to it, white, and then toned it back with a little bit of black to give it a little gray nature. I'm going to keep adding a little black into that, especially here for the corner. That's going to be definitely darker. I have just enough of the blue on there to make sure that I know where those parts of the eyes are. Underneath this part of the eye, and even back here at the back, let's blend that. I can come over the top. So it's just the beginning. In the eyes, as we're painting, you're going to find that there's a shadow that comes under the lid, that there's a direct light source, and because the eye is kind of basically a ball, like a marble, some of the eye will have more of a highlight on it, and some of it will be more in shadow. And because it's not really white, it's not made of glass, it's not painted white, it's made of flesh, there's circulation and pigmentation and all those things. You'll find that you will do better in with your eyes if you don't try to paint them with a white area around that color. I get a lot of people asking me like how I get the eyes to be so real when I'm all done, and this is really a lot of where that happens. Let's put some of this dark back here because we know we've got it. And never mind taking it over. And then in this corner, some more dark. I'm going to get into my base. That was the original terracotta color that we have, skin tone. Get a little bit of my cad red. Come under the eye. Come under the eye here. More cad red if I need it. Interestingly enough, that's just some structure. So you've got some basic structure here. Then we're going to I'm going to get back into this filbert. You could use round. You could use bright. Dana Fuqua, what's the mix for the eye? I had a bit of my cad red and magenta mixed with my burnt umber right here. And I added a little more of my burnt umber and then some white to get right here. And then to get to the shadow, I added more black to tone it. So it's in that range on the eye. I have no clue. Crimson seems darker to me. Crimson is a darker red. It is bias blue. It's fantastic for skin tones. But it is cooler. I tend to grab the crimson when I'm doing European skin tones, like Eastern European skin tones, where they're going to have a very cool undertone. What level is this painting? Says Bonita Gentry. And I say 3 hoot.
3. It's a little challenging.
Saturday is the 1 hoot, and it's awesome, and she's gorgeous. I finished her today. I've got her step by step. We're writing her up, and she's going to be definitely 1 hoot with all the extra goody, yummy explanations on a 16 by 20. Our fellow here, he's a little more challenging. He's a little more challenge to him. Now, I'm going to use a little black into my cad red, and this is going to tone it. If you did my how to make brown video, you'll remember that that was like a good way to make brown. And I'm going to start to paint in some of the area around the hat here with this darker color. You can bring it into where the puff is. Never feel afraid to work out your puff. There isn't a lot of bright red on this painting, so this is an important part. Then where I want this part of the painting to kind of blend into that dark black background, I still mix into the red so that there's a bit of a fade, even as we go into the black. See that?
Yeah.
There we go, going into the black. And I'll take that down here. I've got lots of fluffiness. And we're going to, you know, have the beard coming over here, and there'll be some dark value. And I'll take it down further than I need it, and I will paint the sides a smidge. A smidge. And then right here, I'm going to paint just on the other side of this little ear mark, not take out my glasses, and to bring this down here to where we know that the ear is finishing. Don't want to take out my glasses though. So now we've got a little bit of that black background. As I come forward, I can mix a little of the black into my red. Come here on the edge. Just pumping it up just a little bit. We get back into my black. Back into my black. I'm going to tone this right here, like take it back to a black color, black value. And even between the hat and the puffball, we can all come back and put hair back in but we need these deep values to start from. Black, black, black. Right here. Let's make a fold of fabric by bringing a little black line or shadow in.
How do you make magenta? That's a good question.
Huh?
There's some good questions like how to make magenta.
Magenta is kind of a primary color, guys.
Yeah, it's one of those hard ones.
So if I had CAD red and I wanted to make a hue that was a little bit more like a magenta, it would be really tough because the magenta has such a pink and blue bias to it. So it's why a lot of artists do a thing called to have a split primary palette where they have a warm red and a cool red. So the warm red would be CAD red and the cool red would be magenta. If you don't have magenta or you don't have a pink or another cool red, you could use alizarin crimson. We actually have a lot of files and resources for new artists to know what paints they can exchange for what. You'll still get a different color, but it will be the correct kind of different. Marilyn Moiser says, what do you do with the skin tone? How do you fix the colors if you mess it up? Do you let it dry first? Yes. And you bless that moment because even as you mess up skin tones and you layer and layer and layer, they get better and better and better. It's the weirdest thing, but it is absolutely true. So do not be like concerned or worried if you're like, man, I don't know. I feel like this might have gone a little bit badly. Don't worry. It went better than you think. Now, the other thing I've done to get interesting reds and things going when I was doing a Santa was use alizarin crimson against my CAD red. I have since found that it's really useful. Come here and add another little kind of deep shadow. I'm going to brush this the direction I know the hair is going to be going, even though I know I'm going to be painting over it. See how we're doing right here?
Yeah.
So we know we're going to be painting over it, but that's okay. It's still helping us kind of think about and tone our paper. And even back here. I haven't lost, I can still vaguely see my line for the glasses right there. This is almost like a glaze of black. See how it's very transparent? Not putting a lot of paint on my brush. I'm just taking and knocking this back. There is a lot more pigment, so that's like a little too much for that area, but I'm going to be painting over it anyways. I can just come back with a damp brush. See how I did? Mm-hmm. And erase it. Not be worried in any way. I may take a little more of my dark color in around my puff ball so that when I paint my puff ball out, I can focus on the puff. Letting that dry, getting that wet. Let's add some more skin tones. Let's do some more thoughtfulness in the skin. I need some more control, so I'm going to get a number 4 round. I still have that initial base skin tone, which was my CAD yellow, a little of my CAD red, right here. And then I got some burnt umber. That's how I got that terracotta color. And I'm going to add white. So when you're looking at the skin tone, right, you're going to ask yourself, does it need more brown? Well, if I'm going to be in shadow, it might need more brown. Even sometimes a little black. I'm going to come from the side here. And this definitely, let me keep adding a little black here. I want to kind of blend that up and under the hat. Go under the hat where the shadow is. The only issue with buying skin tones that are pre-mixed, let's get a little more brown into it, is that skin is never, and you're going to really figure this out by the end of this painting, the skin is never one color. Like ever, ever, ever. I'm going to bring, it's a little bit around here, but not so bad coming in. But where we do have a lot is back here at the ear. And I'm going to come in with a little more black now. I'm not leaving my skin tones though, am I? Still working in my skin tone values and colors, because even my deep shadows will have a little of that in there. Maybe come right out here to the outside and add a little bit of a highlight. Just to say, oh, that's just a little bit of that's a little bit of a thing. Now here, as it comes forward, we definitely are getting lighter skin. So I can come forward and take a little of my terracotta mix and maybe even a little of my cad red mix. A little ruddier is sometimes what we refer to this. And come here. If you ever need to blend between the two, you can just wipe out your brush while the two sides are kind of wet and come in and create a little transition. A lot of ways to blend on the canvas. I still have some of my eyebrow stuff here. And I'm going to brush some of it out because I know where everything is now. And as long as you know where everything is, you're good. Get a little more yellow into it. And come down the front. Now there's just a bit of a darker value on the nose, and then it lightens up as it comes down the bridge. Mm-hmm. And that's because there's a bit of a reflection. The reflection is pretty much located along the bridge, and it's fairly important. Come here, down into the bulb of the nose. There's a little bit of this here. There's definitely a bit on the nostril here, and for sure a bit on the nostril here. I'm going to go into the shadow color with the mix that I was just using. So where are my mixes again? To go over it again. My mixes are cad yellow, cad red, burnt umber, titanium white. Sometimes with the black when we need to go deep shadow. Like right here on the inside of the eye, I might go a little more brown, a little more black. I'm still kind of working into the skin tone area, but I need a very dark range. Right here. It's super dark. I'm going to get my brush wet whenever I need dark shadow corner eye. Now to do the little bit of highlight on the lid, in my experience, sometimes it's just easier to come back with the highlight and a small brush. So I'll paint in like what's there. And then come up above here a little bit lighter. We'll get into the wrinkles in a minute. In a minute. As we come around the side, I'm going to get a little more of my white and yellow. Right here. And above the cheek a bit. Above the eye a bit. I still need, come over my little pink cheek a bit, rinse out, get my red, come in from the side with the red. It's got to be quite a light color. Yeah, right in that range, that light. And then I kind of move the red forward as we get out of the highlight. But across the top of the cheek, we do need like a bit of a highlight. I like that red, so I'm going to come back into the nose. Mix a bit more of my CAD red here. And I'm going to exaggerate a bit of the redness around the nose because I'm trying to exaggerate the sandiness of the figure. Right here. I like to highlight the nostrils so you can see them.
Yeah.
Now I can come in and get a little of my brown.
Brad thinks I fell asleep.
Did you fall asleep?
I've just been quiet. I've been like, folks were asking for, like the picture-in-picture, so I had put that up, and I've just been being quiet this time.
He's chill today. I'm going to come over my dark line with this brown mixture that I put into my skin tone. I'm also going to kind of shade some of this and bring that back. See how we're doing there? Bringing that back, defining that area. Let's get quite dark because we got that dark corner of the eye. I love doing like a skin tone painting because it's like you're really working in the same range of colors. I'm going to bring that there and that inner corner, which is really almost all the way to here. Just getting those highlights and those values and things. Then we can come back into our other skin tones and rub this under here, kind of fill that in. Come up over the cheek a bit. Shadow right there. Kind of blend that shadow out here. Sometimes it's nice to blend those shadows out. So when you've mixed up a few of your skin tones, what will naturally start to happen is you'll see areas on the face where you're like, oh, I could add that here. I'm going to add a bit of a shadow under the eye, and there's this highlight, and that's going to start to create the sort of little pocket of extra skin that one associates with someone who's jolly and maybe perhaps a little bit older and did not use Botox. I'm not shaming Chris Kringle for not using Botox. I'm just saying he didn't. Right here, I've got a little bit of the places where the wrinkles are going to be. And so I bring that shadow sort of under. And it would be easier to add highlights coming in. So I'm going to just exaggerate that. Right over with a dark color. Dark color. And kind of even shades in coming from the back side. A little bit of more white and red where necessary, if it's got a redder tone to it. And taking out some of what I got here, but I can still see my eyebrow. A little white and a little cad yellow. And we haven't used any glazing medium. So let's get back for a second and see if we're capturing some of the... So we're starting to capture some of the highlights and some of the shadows and some of the value changes of the face. And that is what we're trying to do. This is going to come up in about 3 layers, and you're going to see the face happen in the last third. Just generally. I'm going to take my magenta and my cad red, one of my very favorite color mixes on the planet. And I'm going to come back here, add some pops of highlights of what is the fabric. Starting to get this hat kind of a... And I'm going to come over some of my dark value, and because the magenta is a bit transparent, it's going to do a glazing. Brush down some more of the red. And then if you come in with just your pure CAD, then you can come in a couple places and really create that sense of bright red. What we're doing right there?
Yeah.
On there, bright red. Tapping that along. It's sort of loose and expressive. There we go. Getting some red going on the hat. Anywhere that I want to kind of tone any of those shadows back, just come back with the magenta mix. Then we make those like not as sharp. Where we don't want them to be sharp. But where you do want them to be sharp, it's pretty easy to come back with like a little cat and a little magenta and black too. And a blend from the background. Blending that hat in. There we go. The beginnings. The fur, interestingly enough, is just white and black. Gray. So pretty easy overall to do. First thing that we want to pay attention to is that the little ball, right? And we're going to do a wonderful little furry ball, is a little darker on the bottom here. And then gets lighter as it comes up. Not white per se, but lighter. And you want to leave room for the white. I'm just making little circular motions so that we're not painting like a smooth ball. We're wanting to paint, you know, something that's fluffy. Because that's what's going to make it look very scenty. So, but just to get the shading first, you're going to want it to be darker here, a little more black into your white. Just the beginning. That's just the shading. We haven't put in the fur. That is not our finished. Sometimes people come on and they're like, I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, that's not the end. It's not the end. It's the beginning. I'm going to get another nice dark gray. And we know that coming under the hat here is a little bit of his hair. And it's in shadow. And we're going to be able to get it to come under the fur easiest and then layer the fur on top. So this is the time when we want to add that. If I want it to blend more into what's going on in the background, I add more and more black. And then as I come forward, you know, blend a little more of the bring some around here. As you do. These are the distant kind of dark hairs that are behind everything we're not really seeing. And then when we come up with his beard, it's just going to be like, what? Like, I know, it was so fun, wasn't it? And you're going to be like, it was so fun. A little more white into it. And again, this is in shadow. So this isn't Santa's white hair because it's not in the light. Some of it will be quite light, but much of it will not be. I'm going to come here and kind of a curl there that we're going to play with. And then again, the hair next to the face is a bit dark.
And the traceable is available on the website here?
Yes, Colleen should have gotten that up. I got it to her before the show, and she's pretty fast. So again, these are the darkest values, not our finished work. It is the architecture under which our finished work will go. What happens to new painters, in my experience, is they get here, think this is the resolution of the painting, and then get frustrated and quit. Can you scroll back up? I saw a question about Jasper Stardust. Do you see it? It's down some. I don't know. I'm sure. I like for watercolor brushes.
Couldn't find a price for the Jasper, so
Yeah, that's kind of one of the quote things. And what I'll say is they are not economical. They're not economical brushes. They are wonderful, and here's why I used mine for a long time. I bought mine a while ago and didn't talk about it or anything. And used it for a while. And here's what I like about them. The head of the brush is an Escoda, which is fantastic for watercolor, and you can pick the Escoda that you want. He loosens the ferrule on the head of the brush from whatever handle it came in and replaces it with olive wood, which is terrific for brush handles because it doesn't swell or shrink in water. Twists it, turns it, twists it, and inlays it, and does a beautiful crimp and reseating of the head. And I have had no loosening or no problems at all.
Mm-hmm.
I like it very much. I'm just coming here with a little bit of the gray hair we know that we've got going on. Yeah, I will be lightening it, some of it, but I just want to get that work in now. When I want to come in and lighten it, I just get a little more white on there and just, while everything's wet, sort of blend that in. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
This is the hair that is deeply in shadow. Some of what we do is. I'm going to bring some of this here. I can always come up with lighter and lighter hair, but it can be hard to shade underneath the hat without glazing. So if I do this work right now, even when I come up with my lighter hair, right, I'll have that blended architecture to work from. There we go. A little bit going on up here at the lip again, my cad red and my quinacridone. Let's get a little white into it. A little bit of white. Come here at the lip, just this part. You can see a lot of that anchor line where I had the dark line. It isn't there anymore. I've taken it out. And that's okay. Get a little more white into it. Come here at the lip and kind of pop a little highlight. See that?
Yeah.
Not a lot. It's just that when I do the beard over it, that will really, really, really help. The traceable on the website is the snowbirds.
I'll check that out.
Will you check that out? And if Colleen's there, she can switch that out because it should not be the snowbirds. It should I mean, there is a snowbirds on the website, but there shouldn't be a snowbirds on the website. The traceable should be ready to go up now. So if it's not there, it's our mistake, but we'll fix it right after the live.
Yeah, we'll check that out. I see the.
Okay. I'm going to take a little of my white and my yellow ochre. Get a nice light value. I'm going to come here and just kind of under the eye, I'm going to start to talk about maybe some of the wrinklies. I want enough coverage so that as I'm kind of painting these, I need to go a little bit darker. I'll get into my gray here. Nope. Just along here, just trying to make sure that I don't like it. And when I don't like it, what do?
Change it?
Change it. Don't keep messing with it. Just adding a little shadow and blending over. Now here under the hat on the skin, it's quite dark. It's okay to come back with like a little bit of brown and black and have that be a dark value, because these things are definitely in a deep shadow. Under the hat.
Under the hat.
I'm going to definitely soften this with my brush. That's where I rinse it out and kind of come along and blend it. And then the next part will be definitely more red. I do see a readiness right there. I'll add my yellow ochre. I find my skin tone that I want. And come right here. There's a bit of a highlight there. It goes dark into shadow over there, but there is a bit of a highlight right there. A little more yellow ochre. Kind of come into the side, and it's okay to get some burnt umber into it. You can see I work it into my brush. Come here. Very, very dark right here. Need to blend that up. A lot of hair will be coming up through here. I'm just using my brush. You can see I'm just kind of wiggling it through and just making sure there's a nice blend.
All right.
I'm into what was my ready color, but with a lot more white. Right here. And there is a bit of a highlight right there. Also a little bit of one right there. Now come right here. It's going to be about trying to find the transition and then find the wrinkle. We're adding that shadow right there in the corner. You guys can do this. It feels a little challenging, but you can do better than you think. There we go. And come there with that very dark color. Comes around the eye here. Pretty good bit.
Yeah.
And then does come back up and out. There we go. Starting to get that. Now, while that's there, I'm going to get my brown and my white. I'm on this inside area. That's how I'm going to get a little bit of lid into that. Hard to do to get those lids, especially when they're really folded over like that. Add a little shadow. Kind of dry brushing right now. I don't really change brushes. Just building up. Making sure I've got good value. Coming off that eye. So I'm going to do gray eyebrows where I have kind of still some eyebrow line. I just got to make sure that I've got what I want. I'm going to add a light reflection. Kind of coming up the nose. Maybe a little bit right there. There's certainly a nice light area on this back end of the eye where we catch a little. Come here into the brown. More brown. Sometimes it'll happen. I'll touch it to the canvas. I'm like, oh, you need to be more brown than that. Little wrinkles coming up. Right. And a little bit of wrinkling, like kind of coming over. Maybe a little bit heading over this way. See how we're starting to put in some wrinkles there? A little bit. These are cheerful wrinkles. These are the wrinkles that you get when you laughed. Not when you've had road rage your whole life. But I suppose when you have reindeer in the sky, I'm going to continue to use the skin tone gray. Sort of define these little wrinkles now. I'm still using my number 4. I haven't changed brushes. And there we come, like a little bit around that back side, right?
Yeah.
Up over the eye here. Kind of dark. There we go. And maybe a little bit of extra wrinkles. And the extra wrinkles?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to take some of my gray. And I'll go ahead and do some like crazy long hairs. These are the beginnings. I'm going to come back with white. It'll help them show. You got to get the crazy long hairs. It's going to go very insane. Don't feel bad about it. I'm going to add a bit of a shadow underneath the nose even before I do the beard. Like you do. And now I'm going to start to put in this beard here. I'll use my cat's tongue to get the base gray in. And then we'll do some finishing touches on the skin.
Okay.
Let's get some base gray in. I may need to come back with a smaller brush around the nose, but I just need to get some. This goes over the glasses, just the glasses kind of go into it, so, which I did really like. There we go, the beginning. A little too much on my nose. So if I ever get too much on there, I just come back with a damp brush and move whatever I need to back. See how I can move it off of there? And I'll just come back and put it in. That way, fix whatever I lost. Yellow, black. We're doing good, guys. Breathe in, breathe out. We're being so quiet tonight.
It is quiet today.
What's up with me?
I don't know. Well, actually, you've been pretty talky.
Is it you?
I think I've been the quiet one.
Uh-oh, what is going on? You were quiet last night. Patrons, too.
Just watching.
Just watching. It's he likes to watch sometimes.
Got his underbeard coming in.
Yeah, we just got to get it in. There's highlights. There's things to get in. But we're going to just get this in. And then once we start getting that in, his santiness will definitely come in. Now I'm going to add a darker value under what is essentially the mustache part of the beard. Just so that we can really there we're doing. This are the shadows. When you're doing hairs, you don't really paint individual hairs. You paint the light and dark of the individual hairs. Just getting this in, right? Because this is what's going to underlay. And yet, you'll notice that glow of what's underneath is rather nice. Not a lot of the lip left.
Yeah.
Just peeking through. So we've got some nice gray there. And let's do some similar. This is, again, not the finished fur. It's not your finished fur. It's the start, not the finish. And I always say that because so many people, when they're new to painting, get here and go, oh, no, this will never work out. And it's like, oh, dude, it will totally work out. Give it 30 more minutes. Just 30 more. I'm doing this kind of like rough brush stroke just because later when I come in with the fur texture, that will be what is very helpful. I don't want any of this to be pure white yet because I use the grays as a way to help define her textures. Down, 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 down. Still dark though. Need it dark. So now we have this. I would say this is about 2/3 done.
Yeah.
2/3 done. All right. So things that we really want to have. We want rosiness, right? And that's going to be about those cheeks, the cheeks. It isn't really even about what's realism. I might even at this point get a little of my magenta in with my CAD. Light value. You can come above the glasses a bit, come down, and just a little bit past too. A little cad yellow, more white.
Mm-hmm.
We need a light skin tone. When you do a few paintings, we're going to add a little bit of there's a light area than the skin that comes forward because, you know, let's add a couple light areas between like what is sort of the wrinkles up the nose. Little wrinkle lines. You know, even over here, your highlights are maybe in shadow, but they still need highlights. So I'm adding some brown. And just fold in. Right, some of the little craving and wrinkling that you see, and the shadow of the skin then starts to create some of those counter wrinkles. Well, when you need to wrinkle in an area that's more in shadow, but it still needs to be a highlight, you just add more brown to it. Bringing that down there. You see how that's starting to wrinkle?
Mm-hmm.
And yet be luminant. Yeah, be very luminescent.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to come in with some white, white, white. Right here. White, white, white. Down the bridge of the nose. Little bit of white, white, white right here. A little bit right here at the cheek as well. Just his little glow. Come in with my white. Creating these long S curve lines that we can have some nice little Santa brows. Because they should be bushy. Look at those get bushy. They're bushy brows. Are white is white, but they're pretty white. I'm just have to roll my brush and load the tip. Where we might pluck that errant hair, Santa's leaned into it. He's like, what I'd like is all the extra long eyebrow hairs, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I am an ancient elf with magical, temporal, and spatial abilities, and I will wear my eyebrows as I see fit. All the mortals can just deal with it. On my eyes, if you guys remember, there was this sort of mix with cad red and magenta and a little bit of brown, right? And then we got white into it. Come right here. Got a little bit of that mixture right there is a little highlight. Just a bit there. Almost needs to have a gray into the highlight because it's in a shadowed area. So you will have highlights, but they just have to reflect what you've got. You don't want pure white because you need that to show the reflections in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Creating little highlights where I need them. Now here, adding a bit of kind of like interest. I'm going to come back with my gray, do some brown and black and kind of create my wrinkle color. Got a little cad in there. Sometimes it's nice just to exaggerate a couple of things. Back is a little bit of a glaze. Hopefully I have enough of my glasses left to be able to see what I need.
Do you have the little pair right over there in front of you? I put a pair in front of you.
Oh, no, not those glasses.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to grab another little bit of white. I haven't rinsed out my brush. My eyes are going to be in my blue. I'm just going to use phthalo blue. Because it's a pretty shocking blue and it's got quite a turquoise to it. Come here. And it's amazing how with just a little bit of white into the blue, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like out of nowhere. Is that not extraordinary? And then if I want an even slightly, I'll put that right here with just a little more white. So amazing. So amazing. Well, that's all having a rest in, I think. I'm going to get into my white. There's a little bit of gray in it. I'm going to make some different furs around I've got hairs and furs, right? Hair and fur. These are short strokes. There is a directionality. If I need to get some wet into my brush, I will. I find with tree branches, with fur and everything, if you can let it go long, that's a good thing. Don't take out all your shadow, though.
Yeah.
The shadow is what will give things the form it needs. I think it's also a good idea to kind of follow directionality. You know, even down here, you will want the hair to be shaded. A little grayer. Still lighter than what's here. Where I need more water to improve flow. I let my brush kind of feather out. Like see how I let the toe get rough?
Yeah.
I let that get rough. I don't try to keep the toe together. I will curve. This is a little more in shadow. Now we'll come back and we'll put some very interesting fur highlights on there. You'll like the effect. It will be a technique that y'all enjoy learning. Let this go. So into this. So sorry, I forgot I was live today.
Oh, it's okay.
Trying to figure out our life on the new kids' ever-changing school schedules, on our ever-changing schedules. Just trying to be like, when can I even go? And then, you know, just, and then trying not to be on anybody else's time slot. It is a challenge, man. I need somebody that like lands planes. That's what I need. So you can see we're just starting to show that. We're just starting to show that. We haven't even gotten into what's going to make the eyes look really amazing. Now, as I come forward, the gray will get lighter and lighter and lighter. I may come in here and make sure that I've got some nice little edges. And then it's just that this looks like it's not synthetic fur, which is what Santa costumes are, but that is magical fur of an evil enemy that Santa vanquished that we're super happy he's wearing. Maybe. I don't know. I really thought about it. Clearly Santa's not a vegan. And see, that didn't get anyone on the naughty list, so I am not making lifestyle recommendations for anybody. Don't worry. Santa does not tell me what gets on the naughty list or not. This is just that next layer of fur texture. And you can see it builds up, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the eyes. I'm going to take a little bit of my white, blue, and I'm going to make a very, very, very light color. Light, light, light. I'm going to come right here. Can't do anything for a minute because I still need to reserve an area where that's just light.
Okay.
I also may come in with just a little of my magenta. Just a little bit of a glaze. Now, it just means that it's a thin paint and here and maybe glaze the nose a bit. Not a lot of paint on my brush. I don't want to take out the work I've already done or the values. I just want to make his nose even a little pinker. See how that's done?
Yeah.
So this works with quinacridone because it is so transparent. And I'm just sort of dusting or rouging the canvas. When you do this type of technique, we used to think that you couldn't do this because the paint wouldn't set. Now we just know it just takes like a couple weeks to set, and it definitely sets. So that is a new information that we did not have before. I'm going to grab this filbert and fresh water. I have been painting with the dirtiest water.
You have 3 things of water there.
I know. I didn't say it was wise. I just said it was happening. So again, not a pure white. I'm just getting a lighter gray. I'm just making some little highlights. So I like to find little lines or spaces where I can follow the hair. And we've got to separate what's going on with the hair from what's going on with the beard, right? These are light little delicate touches. See how I curve these strokes? I don't have a lot of water on my brush. I'm not offloading a ton of paint, but there's distinct lines. And there are definitely little areas where we piece out some highlights. You can kind of see how I follow these little S strokes, right? The directionality of hair. If I need to come back in with a dark gray, piece a section from another section, I just do that. I just come back with a dark gray to shade it. And then get back into a lighter one where I need that. I just want to make sure that Katie, or like she for sure heard her birthday though, because we wished her birthday wishes. If you can, and Katie still here, you should throw up a cake or something, or anyone's birthday. If it's anybody's birthday, happy birthday. Throw up a cake. Mm-hmm. Does anyone know if Sherpa has a video on different ways to glaze? I don't think I ever did that specifically, Mama Moth, and now I feel like I should. I feel like that's a tip video I should do. Mm-hmm. Are you guys liking how he's coming together, how he's developing?
I certainly am.
Kind of coming here. So you can see I kind of curve this back and down. Mm-hmm. S strokes are a big deal when you're trying to do hair. And learning how to find the flow of that is a big deal as well when you're trying to figure out how to paint hair. And you can see we're building it up. We haven't even gotten into the white. We're still into the gray values. We're just now creating a construct that comes up and up and up and up. I'm going to come in here between the lip. I just didn't want firm edges there. And I'm using the flat of the brush, but still following the directionality. And come here and we'll start to follow this directionality. Flowing down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not a blonde, but we got to give him flowing hair, right? Come over here and let's add some. We haven't even gotten to the highlights yet. I laugh about this because it's just so cool. Because there's this weird moment where it all just comes together. Again, in that last little bit of the painting, it'll be so strange, the things that will make something just completely work. And the number one thing that will stop you when you're new is knowing it will be okay. Because you don't know that when you're new. You don't know that the next layer is where your painting comes out. Doing a little curve to the stroke there. And again, it's just that layer. You're building up those layers. The way we're doing this, by the way, is for hair, is for fur, is for everything. What I'm trying to do is lay in a flow. Now, I am going to dry this. I'm not going to let you guys look at it.
All right. And we've, yeah, she's not had a lot of drying between the layers this time. Mostly she's been able to work around the surface and kind of pick up here and there. So, yeah, this has gone pretty well today, I think. Just kind of plugging along.
So Ronnie says, this is amazing. Instant hair, just painting the light paint over the dark. Yeah, and it works with every color of hair. Mm-hmm. And that's what's wonderful. I think it's like when you start really painting hair, you'll notice how it changes when it backlights and when it glows. You'll see that black hair has so much happening in it, so many reflections and so much depth. You'll start to really get a sense of the blonde hair and how colorful hair actually is. I'm going to put out a little of my white paint. I'm also going to, I think I'm going to try to make sure I've got, I need my chalk, but I don't know where that is. I will try to freehand it. I'll just use my yellow ochre and my white for just a second. Got to come back with the lines that I can. And like I said, it's the glasses. It's the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Easier to actually go dark. If you've lost your guideline, which you may have from here, use your chalk before painting black like I'm doing. The reason being is that, one, I kind of have a pretty good idea how to get rid of a chalk line. I really do. If I make a mistake, I'm pretty good at erasing my boo-boos. Mm-hmm. See? And it's not going to like make me feel like the whole painting went south, even if my glasses get askew. It just won't. Just enough of a guideline to see there. Woo! Thank goodness. Now, my yellow ochre. And I may end up, depending, I might get into my cad yellow. Might be a good time to do that so that this yellow stands out from all the other yellow. Oh my goodness, that's more paint than I needed. More than all the other yellow paint that I've had here. Just even getting into that bright yellow sometimes can create that sense of it being metallic. So I'm going to just paint some reflections. Painting metal is usually just about paying attention to the way light reflects off of it and making sure you catch the shadows and the highlights. Glasses should be actually painted pretty with some deep consideration. So, expect to do layers here. It would be weird to expect to have no layers. If you want them to look like metal.
Mm-hmm. Got to have those little highlights.
You do. You have, but as much as you have to have the shadows. You're going to be here second. I'm using a 1 detail. All right. I'm using a 1 detail. I'm going to come back and add some shadows and some highlights. And then you're going to love how we use zinc to create a little bit of a reflection, a little bit of a haze on the glasses, and it's a really neat thing. So let's get our shadows first. So I'm going to take my black and load it onto my number 1 Art Sherpa round. I'm not being weird. It's actually the name of the brush. And come along here and try to make sure that there's a good shadow. Sometimes I go to paint and there's just not enough paint loaded on my brush. And then, maybe there's a stronger kind of shadow right there. And then there's a nice stronger one right here. There's a pretty good one across here. We've got a little back one there on the back side of the glasses. One coming along the front side here. And then there's a bit of one there coming around. When you get that basic in, you're going to come back with a little of your fluid white and your detail brush. I'm going to paint a little. Sometimes it's a good idea to break a line, which just basically means is that you don't do a continuous line. Good strong highlight right here. Nice one on the inside there. Put one there. Strong one down the center here. So you can see that gives us, if we get back from it a bit, that very quickly, if we skid overhead, John, you can see that the glasses start to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And if I want them to have a little bit of a haze on them, I'm going to take something called zinc white. You don't have to do this step. It's not necessary. I just like it, and I want to show it to you. I'm going to take my zinc. I'm going to load it into what is a number 12 round blender.
Mm-hmm.
And I just add a bit of a little reflection.
Yeah.
And there you go. Just a little bit of zinc. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know who that was.
That was...
Thank you, babe.
So you go, look, see?
Stephen Cody, your videos provide desperately needed stress relief in very stressful times. As an ER nurse near the Boston, the pandemic is really draining with no end in sight. You give me my me time I need. First, every first responder, every medical professional, and this goes all the way to even people who are standing in the grocery store. This is a draining epidemic, and if I can help in any way, I'm so glad and so pleased for all the help that you've given me and my family. I weirdly had to take advantage, not because of I didn't have COVID, but I had to take advantage of going and seeing medical professionals, and I'm just so grateful and cannot express how brave and amazing I think everyone is. But then I think anyone that looks at blood in a really consistent kind of way or jabs you with a needle is pretty brave. So thanks. Let's throw up some love for everybody in nursing and medical who's out there. And I know you guys are going to be on the front line when they're distributing vaccines. I know what's in front of you. I watch a lot of documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know this is a long thing, and you guys are always welcome here. Always. Everyone's always welcome, but you guys are always welcome. I'm going to take a little of my white.
Mm-hmm. This is where it really comes together with these highlights.
Yeah. I don't know if Crocs did this everywhere, but I learned that Crocs, at least in the Philadelphia area, gave everybody working in at the hospitals Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
And like cool Crocs. Like they got to pick their Crocs. You know, I'm not sure how big that program ended up being, but everyone at the hot place we were at, like everybody had Crocs. And I think more businesses should do that. If they can. I wish we could have like awards and stuff for like heroes and people that go the extra mile. And honestly, I've been so impressed by just people. Like the way people responsibly figured out a way to trick or treat and not like spread anything was like amazing. Did you see some of the contraptions of candy delivery from a distance? I just wanted to be like, come work for me. You are amazing. And I'm just using the fluid paint. We talked about that in the beginning. The one I'm using is golden fluid titanium white, but if you don't have this, you can use craft paint. Mm-hmm. The craft paint I like is Deco. I do like Deco. Actually, I should probably get into my eyebrows for a half second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take my detail brush while I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you. I like your kitty. And if you guys are wondering what's up with the crazy emojis, we have an emoji club. Mm-hmm. You guys want to emoji, you're welcome to. It's all it does is emoji. It does no other things. But I do add them, and two of the emojis were designed by my daughter, Linda Bello, who's my youngest. And my eldest she's going to do some for you guys, her artwork. And then I do some as well. Done some custom. They're all custom. Look at that. Look at those crazy, wonderful eyebrows. And now that's magical, right?
Yeah.
I know no one right now who has these eyebrows goes, oh, my eyebrows are so magical, but maybe you need to revisit them. Because look, they super are. And I'm not doing like straight hairs. You'll notice there's some real curve and wander to the hair.
Are you what brush are you using there?
This is the Art Sherpa #1.
Okay.
With sticky things stuck to it. And while I'm here with my tiny, tiny brush, I'm going to come here and add a hot highlight in the middle of that cool highlight that I had. Pop a small one in the tear duct. And then along here, along this part of the eye, where the lid and stuff meet, I'm going to add a little bit of twinkle. That's where the twinkle come from.
The twinkles.
You want Santa to twinkle, you got to do that. A little bit of highlight there. Interestingly enough, a little bit of highlight here. Bit there. Unsurprisingly right here. And then, of course, the twinkles.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's a broken line. I don't keep that steady. That's because the light. Look at that. Look at those twinkly eyes now.
Oh.
Twinkly. Twinkly.
So nice.
Now, back to
Bringing on the final highlights.
yeah, we're just down to the hair. It's going to go pretty quick. But what you'll notice is I kind of lean into, I get a curve going and I lean into a directionality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I get there. And that's how I get it to look like really awesome Yeti fur. Maybe that's what Santa took out. Jack Frost or Yeti. Maybe Jack the Pumpkin King was hairy before he took the holiday. And Santa said no. I don't know.
I have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tauntaun.
It's a tauntaun. I take this. Look at this go. I love this.
Yeah, I think
I love this. Do you love this?
I have a theory that Santa is from Hoth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sasquatch are all what do you call it? Wookiees.
I know you think that Sasquatch are all Wookiees. And Life Day would back that up. What's crazy is so they redid Life Day as a Lego movie, John.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that. Look at that hair now. Look at the flow of that hair. Cougar on the left side in an old-fashioned bonnet. Do you guys see a cougar on the left side with an old-fashioned bonnet? John, do you see it?
Maybe no. Crazy, I don't know.
Oh, I had another kind of harrowing YouTube story, John.
What's that?
So, and this was asked nicely. A member of our Jewish community was like, "Hey, great Christmas, but like, would like to see some diversity."
Carrie just joined Emoji Club.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much.
Did she see our boho snowman cup?
I don't know. But
She was asking for some Jewish diversity. We have the
boho snowman isn't diversity. It's
the
just
menorah's on the other side.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So, well, I was like,
See?
So I have one. I have a painting. It's a beautiful menorah. It's gorgeous. I'm super proud of the painting. I'm extra proud of it because as a person who's not Jewish, and I know some, but not a lot, right? Because it's not what I grew up in.
Yeah.
And so luckily I have the most giving and loving community in the world. So I would put up a design and they would come back and they would go like, no, that's wrong for these important sacred reasons. And I would be like, okay, let me change it. And so we did these back and forth paintings till we like dialed it in and I like nailed it. And so, she has a reasonable request. And of course I'm like, well, maybe you don't know I have this really cool painting. Right. And, but I mean, it was not like a small journey, right? It was like a journey together. And I don't want to stick my foot in my proverbial mouth. I do that enough on my own, so to speak, but I would never want to do it in a way that would generally hurt anyone's feelings. So I'm like, here is this painting. And I'm like, maybe you already know about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be so sweet. I'm going to go out on YouTube because I'm so good at YouTube. And I'm going to find every acrylic tutorial that is about Hanukkah. And I did find them. And they were all copies of mine. I was like, I can't help you. Apparently I'm it. I'm it.
So, well, there you go.
I'm it. So then I don't know. It's hard sometimes. You gotta, I think everybody deserves art in their life that reflects who they are.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that you be able to celebrate who you are. I really was surprised. I was so sure because on YouTube, there's 100 of everything. I play the game where I do searches and I'm like, can I find this crazy search criteria on YouTube? And I always find stuff. I've never come to the end of something that there wasn't a video on. So this was the first time I've really done that, where I had to like come there and I was like super surprised. So I know I've got a lot of holiday paintings going and I am going to do landscapes and stuff like that. But that's just because that's what I know and barely know because I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. So I came to this late, which is why my carols are a little bit shorter because I don't necessarily know all the words. I don't know. I just forgot to tell you that today. And we got so quiet and worky at the beginning of the video, I didn't get to tell you that crazy story. Because you know how rare it is that you do a search on YouTube and there isn't 1,000. But I do have a beautiful Hanukkah menorah that I am so crazy proud of. Crazy proud. It's gorgeous and it's beautiful and the colors are amazing and I love it. And clearly others agree.
He's got very, very sparkly eyes.
Yes, because he's Santa is twinkly. I love at the beginning when people are like, not sure if I'm going to get there. Because it's, layers.
Alice was saying, yeah, it's really hard to find Hanukkah tutorials.
It is. You're not wrong. It's crazy hard. I'm so good at YouTube and Google, you don't even know. And I couldn't.
If it weren't for you and Adam Sandler, I wouldn't know anything about menorahs.
Speaking of, because I did find some videos out there that were claiming my design was theirs. Never, never, never. If ever you think someone has stolen my artwork, please never message the artist or creator or business person. Always just send us an email at support@TheArtSherpa.com. For two reasons. Sometimes people license the rights to do my artwork, to teach and stuff like that. Usually they'll tell you, like say labs or something. Yeah. Sometimes people just don't know about copyright and they're just doing their own thing and they don't know.
Sometimes it's just a mistake. They're like, I Googled this thing and it was pretty, so I painted it. And they didn't know anything better. And
I don't really like, if somebody's like trying to make a big chunk of money off of me and it gets reported, they might hear from my attorneys if they're complete jerks about it. But for the most part, I don't like to take other artists out. And so definitely always write support at TheArtSherpa.com and we can look at it and decide if it's of legal need or import for us to do something about it. But don't like contact the artist. And even though I appreciate it and so loving and it's on my behalf and I'm so grateful for the thoughtfulness of it, in that way, it's still not. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
And in this particular case, I know I saw. And I was just like, fine. It's a Google search away to know. So I wasn't even that worried about it.
Yeah, it's funny whenever someone's like, this is an original painting of the Sanderson sisters that I did on my own. And we're like, really?
Tried to copyright it. I don't even look anymore at Halloween. I'm so glad it's almost over. I think the trend of it is almost fading out. But at one point, it was like 500 reports, like in the first 2 weeks. It was like crazy. It was a lot. So, and also, it's Disney's. So,
yeah, it's. I just find it funny when I don't know. It's so much funny is slightly offensive when someone takes your design and clearly it's your design.
yeah, and says it's their design.
And then it says it's theirs because they changed the color of the dress.
Like,
sure.
But again, I don't usually track most of that down.
No,
Look at that beautiful fur.
You know.
Sharon O'Brien has to run, but it's amazing. Good night, everyone. Well, Sharon, come back and see later how it finishes out.
We look forward to seeing you.
We look forward to seeing you. Goodness gracious. I'm loving this now.
He's turned out pretty awesome.
This is just working out so well.
He's very, very good. Very good wrinkles, very good sparkle, very good fur.
Now we're about to have very good hair.
Santa's always got good hair.
Like, seriously, Santa's the original good hair. Just good hair all the way through. It's just best to kind of get into a good, quiet, contemplative space and sort of think about it. Like, where would the hair go?
Mm-hmm.
Where does the hair go? Sorry. When hair is deep back in shadow, you can still capture it with just a few highlights. See how I'm doing here? So yeah, the hair still stays in shadow, but
you know, he's got that sparkle. I feel like this is what would happen to Matthew McConaughey if he just let his beard go crazy as he got old. He would turn into Santa Claus.
Okay, do you know the YouTube hole I fell down last night though?
Huh.
Was celebrities impersonating other celebrities. Best YouTube search.
I'm sure.
Best.
But don't you think that
like, and the monolith showed up in a whole nother city.
I told you. I was in another country.
A whole other country.
You know what's
No,
what?
I think it was Romania.
Maybe it was Romania. Okay, but this is the bad end time thing when monoliths start appearing and disappearing at multiple locations around the world.
Yeah, but this is how we are. We're like, oh, look at those artists all working together to create an installation. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. To everybody joining Emoji Club, thank you. And to everybody doing Super Chat, thank you. But also to everybody coming and spending your time with us, thank you. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscribes. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for letting me know what's going on in your life with your paintings. Just everything. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, you know
what? You knew that.
You know what really just kind of makes me think is a multinational art organization that has the resources to install a 10-foot steel monolith in the middle of the night at multiple locations around the world.
But look, here's what the deal is. I don't think it's one art organization. It's like the banana. When the banana came out, we created a tutorial video. It's a serious tutorial on how to install a banana with duct tape.
Sure.
Full tutorial, real time.
I remember. I was there.
With traceable. Because we were answering back. And I think sometimes artists kind of like, they answer each other.
See, I think it's more fun to think that there's a totally organized multinational art organization that's...
Well, I hope they're funded and I hope they have patrons if there is, because it's certainly a lot of work. And then I was like, it's not... It has some Andy Goldworthy-esque elements just because it's outdoor installations, but of course he only works with natural stuff. But you just have to wonder.
Aliens.
I mean, if they're artists, I'll teach them.
Maybe Ewoks.
If you're an extraterrestrial and you're also an artist, you're welcome here.
If you win something, I will ship it to you. I will find a way. I'll tell Elon that we have to get international delivery going. Or
I don't know why you think Elon would care anything what we're doing.
I think that he would be like into it. Like I'd be like, all right, this is the deal. Somebody on the space station won a prize, and I have to ship it to him. Will you handle that for me? And he'd be like, you know what? For $10,000 a pound, I'll put whatever you want in orbit.
Then we had to like fund for like. So you can kind of see how I create like a flow and a rhythm in the hair, and then we just continue to bring those lines around. I don't know who's social distancing, but congratulations if you're social distancing. It's a very in thing to do now. You know, I was social distancing before it was cool.
Mm-hmm. You were a trendsetter.
I'm a trendsetter. Me and all the people who work for home are like, we were about this back when nobody knew. I like to sometimes create little bits of hair that sort of travel above the beard. I think that gives it a bit of a... Oh, no, never again, sir. You are never allowed to notice a national event before it happens ever again. So sometimes I will, even as I drew out a directionality of hair, I may find places where I'm like, oh, maybe there's a bit of a curl. And this will go, perhaps the hair will, you know, his beard is curly.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm going to get there. And I'm just using the fluid paint.
Now these are what you would consider flicky.
Long curvilinear lines. So there's an implied texture or implied line because of the way that I am doing a multitude of fine lines organized in the way that we think of hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really just about getting kind of a flow to your brush. See how we're getting a flow? You want to see it overhead?
So it's flicky S brush
flicky,
strokes.
Flicky, flicky, flicky. What for the last giveaway? I don't know. We're doing another giveaway.
Yep. Doing another giveaway.
They are flicky S strokes.
And if you're on the space station, please come apply.
Have I seen any of the giants created by Thomas Dambo? I have not, and now I'm going to go find them. Maybe I have. Do you mean the hyper-realistic giants, or is this another installation? Anyways, I'm going to look it up, because you put the name there, and you gave me, if you give me search terms, I'll look stuff up. You guys get me to look stuff up all the time. You have no idea how often you do. I know the hair part of this is a bit long.
Well, it's kind of the interesting part where you get the...
But this is where the Santa comes from.
It's where it all pops together.
I meant to put up a poll today to see if everybody wanted to do a landscape.
Look at
next
that.
Week. What?
We haven't seen that face in a little
Chris
while.
Plays games. Chris has the beanie. Chris, how are you? Oh my goodness, we met Chris at our first VidCon.
Was it our first one? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
no,
it
was.
It was our
and
first
he
VidCon.
told me where my missing video went.
He did.
He did.
Right, I do remember.
He did. What did the fox say? Fox says my video was taken down from
That's right. YouTube says no.
YouTube says no. Doesn't matter what the fox says. Me, I've been determining and finding YouTube glitches since I got on the platform.
Well, I think everybody is just like...
Well, I think it's because we did lives and stuff like that. We were always finding weird spaces. I can't believe Chris plays games.
I guess
Haha, long time no see. I'm all right. I'm so glad you're all right. I hope the family is okay. I hope all your family is okay.
it wasn't so much that we found bugs as much as corner cases.
We're corner cases. That's right.
Which is a unique kind of bug that only applies to you, and they're not necessarily going to fix it.
Anybody else doors, nor does it need to be fixed, repaired. It's kind of like, aw, that sucks for you.
Sometimes they would fix it.
No, often.
Often,
YouTube's
but-
actually very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nice. Really, seriously. The people that work at YouTube for the most part are very... Actually, I haven't run into anybody mean. I'm sure because diversity of humans applies. I'm sure there are mean people at Google.
I don't think they're allowed to. I think they're like, you can't be mean.
I don't know. I've never met anybody who was. I've met a lot of people that were too good looking for being there. You're like, did Aaron Spelling cast YouTube? Is that what happened? Aaron Spelling came in here and said, okay, we're going to do a show about super smart kids that have done everything. And we're going to make them the most symmetrical, gorgeous kids you've ever seen in your life. And they're all going to be in their early 20s and making a high 6-figure a year. Let's see what that looks like.
That's the New York space.
It was really weird. Things you notice as an artist.
So we're up here. So this will be our first northern winter.
It is. Oh yeah, we moved, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is up in Boston.
Dude, we're in Pennsylvania.
Northeast Pennsylvania. Up here where we're in I guess near Scranton, the Electric City. So if you're a fan of The Office or a good paper company, then
or Beats.
Or Beats. That's a little bit outside. That's at the beet farm, Schrute Beet Farm.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Dwight Schrute, he's like Mr. Scranton.
I don't know.
So is Michael Scott. I think that they
Michael Scott. Yeah, I can see
and
that.
Jim and Pam, and I wasn't a fan of that show in any way. Did I cry hard when it was over? Did I bawl into tissue? Was I so sad? Did I write all the people and staff and creators and people that made it a very nice long fan letter to say thank you for making my life wonderful for a number of years? Oh. Still better than what I did to HBO after the last season of Game of Thrones. I didn't take that one well. I didn't take that on the chin at all. And this is how you end up watching a lot of Korean rom-com. Because you run out of stuff. Like Lovecraft Country, it's over. What am I going to watch? I don't know. I got my daughter to watch Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
That show was like so many levels. I think that H.P. Lovecraft would be the proudest of that show, of all the adaptations of his work that I've ever seen. I think that's the one where he'd be like, yep, you caught the feeling of it. You got it. That's what it's like to live in my universe, my scary, scary universe of imagination. See, Lovecraft was a strange fellow because he's super imaginative, but he used his imagination for dark things. Races, why did you move?
So
why did you move?
The original thought was we were in a very, 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 very small house.
So small. You guys have no idea.
And we were at a place where we needed to get more space for our kids, and our studio needed more space. And then my mom was looking to retire, and we were like, okay, what if we all went in together on a bigger place that had a bit of land? We could be like a little further away from our friends. And then so we started looking at it. We looked at a couple places. And then we did a stop and reset. We said, okay, we've been kind of making compromises. What if we just made a list of all the things we really, really wanted? And then just went and found all those places. And on the list was we wanted to be 2 hours from one of the major video hubs in North America.
YouTube, really.
Yeah,
YouTube
really,
space.
Primarily YouTube, which was New York, Toronto, or LA.
We started the search before COVID totally took out the country.
Yes, way before COVID. So if you go 2 hours from the LA space, which is in Long Beach, if you take a 2-hour ride in traffic, that puts you about 4 miles away in Compton. So that's about a 2-hour drive.
I'm sorry, that was not a nice or pretty laugh. I don't do a pretty cry either. I really apologize.
So we decided we didn't want to live in the LA area because it was just,
Hi, Annette.
It's LA.
I see your comment.
And if you're in LA, you understand. This was with love. We decided that we couldn't live 2 hours from Long Beach and have a very good time in our life. So we were like, okay,
thank you, Chris.
Not at our current price point.
No.
So then we said, what's next? Well, the next city on the list was Toronto.
I'm going to leave a bit more shadow here as I come through here. I'm just doing more of this.
Toronto's cold. It's like if you took all the heat away from Hoth, that's what you would have, and then just put everything underground. Plus, but everyone's very polite. But everyone's very polite there. So,
except for in Scott Pilgrim's universe,
they speak French, so you have to be willing to approach the whole French paradigm with coolness, and then you're okay.
I'm always up for anybody French.
So
I get it, guys. I get it. Bonjour, ça va bien? Just be polite. Let me give you the secret of French people. Just everywhere. Be polite. Say hello. Ask how people are. Don't yell. Nobody likes it. And you're never going to get your baguette if you raise your voice. Baguettes will suddenly be gone from the entire continent. You're going to be baguetteless. Mm-hmm. So just, be casual, wait in line, be chill. And it's your fault. Just know that. Just come from that place because it probably is. Honestly, probably is. So that was what I learned living in France. And I loved it.
That left us with being 2 hours from New York City. Now, that's actually a pretty big circle because there's a lot of freeways that just bring you right in there to Manhattan. So we started looking around what was approximately 2 hours from Manhattan. And, well, we found a whole bunch of them from Massachusetts, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, upstate New York. There's all sorts of places we looked around.
I'm curving the beard down here, the mustache hairs down here to kind of blend those two zones in. Okay, just letting everybody know what I'm doing.
So then we started looking on a list, and we said, okay, had to have good schools. That was one of the other things we looked at, and then we had to be able to afford it and not directly see our neighbors. Like we wanted a little bit of space.
We'd be right in Hawaii on the beach.
That's right. We would be Hawaii. So
on the beach.
Well,
And if you'd like to patron us by giving us a beach house, that's okay.
Or just if you just okay, if you have a bunch of like you're just willing to let us come up and crash out in your lanai and
And well, we come with kids though, so you got to think about that a minute. My kids are not quiet.
You know what? Hawaii is so naturally nice. It rains on them to wash them. The temperature's always nice. They can just sleep outside, and we can just become beach bums on the beach.
I'm getting there.
We can go fishing.
I'm getting there. A bunch of people in our area are like, I'm near Scranton. Yeah, when the world comes back to normal, we'll do a meetup in this area. When the world is back to normal.
So we ended up picking on a list, and this house we got was 1 billion years old and just a monstrous
with history and stuff.
And you can when we got it had one of those really good bad late 80s early 90s renovation with Stainmaster carpet covering all of the hardwood floors, Sealy Posturepedic mattresses that were installed in 94 that weigh about 1 million pounds.
Oh my gosh, the dust mite body weight of those mattresses is super intense.
But anyway, we found this old place that was in this place called the Poconos, and we didn't know what that was. So we were flew in, big old house, lots of room, needed fix up.
Trees.
Lots of trees.
So pretty. Lots of water and nature.
Seasons.
Oh my gosh, seasons.
The ground here is soft.
Oh, soft.
When you walk on it, it steals the energy from your feet as you walk. It's just spongy and loamy. So we moved from Houston, which was living in
Mordor.
Yeah. It's
Mordor.
It's like Mordor.
I've got Houston. You guys know it. If it's like, let me explain rain here. I don't know. It's like a mist. It's certainly not something that drives you off the road and drowns people if they're leaving the football game, which for a fact in Houston it does. And that's without the hurricane, plus the crazy lightning and the trees that fall and the tornadoes and the hurricanes. and the fact that it's the surface of the sun, yet the humidity of an aquarium, I mean, Houston is awesome and it's got tons of culture and it's beautiful, beautiful city, but it does take a lot. It also has some of the coolest art stores on the planet. So there's a lot going for it, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean.
Yep.
So I'm just following the directionality of the hair, getting hair. He's looking pretty good, isn't he?
He really is.
Oh, Clara says, is it haunted? Potentially, but if it is, they're very friendly. They're very friendly. And I'm not that far away from Lilydale, so I can handle any problem that comes my way. Just go to Lilydale if it's haunted. Yeah, no, if there is, they're very nice. Very, very nice. And you can see how I just use the directionality of line and value to create the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Santa's. There are a lot of ways to do this. This is just one way. It is the one I like. I'm going to curve a little bit of hair in front here. Watch me get tricky with it. I'm going to Will Smith this moment. What?
I like your little.
Wait till you see Snow Gorgeous next weekend. The step-by-step on her is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And she's even more fabulous than the digital painting. Okay. I'm going to come here and give my...
All right.
Little bit of this. Where I want the value to be darker, I can just space my lines out a little bit.
Almost finished up with that. That's
I
so
know.
close.
We are literally almost done. Where to sign it? On this one, I would sign on the back because I like all these lines too much.
You wouldn't hide your signature into a little like with a white.
I could if I did it now. I think I could find a place to do it. Yeah, I'm gonna hide it on the front. That's a good idea. Thank you, baby.
Hide it in the whiskers.
Linda Sue's Ginger is still in Houston.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
she's still in Houston. Oh, Ronnie O has my UFO painting scheduled next. Hi, Cookie. And my 47 said, those eyes look real. Great job. Hopefully you guys feel like you can get your eyes to look real. Hopefully like the lessons from this were a good skin tone lesson, I hope. Took a little longer than I expected. Well, I kind of knew with the beard it might be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see how we just go with the flow, which is his hair. Isn't he beautiful?
So finish the story about the house and is their acreage. So we uh we ended up moving up here, and yeah, we have a little bit of acreage. We're a couple acres, and
Well, just under 2.
just under two, yeah. And mom's up here with us, and we really love it. Yeah, it's great. 4 seasons. Everyone's settled in nice. We're close to the space, so with it, as things open up, we'll be able to do stuff in New York and hopefully enjoy some of the local stuff because there's so much in Pennsylvania. Like I heard that there's a Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania.
What?
They have this big gorge that's cut through it that everyone calls like the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania. I didn't know about that until I watched a thing on Pennsylvania. It's just kind of interesting.
And come here and make sure there's nice flow on all the hair. So his hair looks like it's flowing. I give him a little curl there. All right, guys. What do you think? Let's see him overhead.
All right, here we go.
Let's see him overhead. Oh, isn't he pretty? So he might take you a minute because of the hair, but it's a really good exercise. It's a good exercise in skin tone. Good. It's a good exercise in using retaining lines. If you guys see how those initial black lines did disappear into him, but they kept me anchored into my placement as I painted things. Deborah Birch, any more bear stories? They hibernated. So next year, I'm sure there will be. New York, a nice place to visit. I want to go to New York. I do. Mm-hmm. I do. I like New York. I love New York. I love New Yorkers. I actually really do. I love New Yorkers. They're so awesome. Just have no idea. I love it. I love that complete, you know what? Ghostbusters sums up New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Right? I think it does. Like that whole moment of and yet we're going to sing and save the city. It's just awesome.
Pennsylvania is a cool state to live in.
And Pennsylvania is a cool state to live in, we believe.
It really is. I've learned a lot about it. It's like one of the most. It's like the 5th most populous state. It was the 2nd state to enter the Union. It is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
All right, I'm gonna find a little spot in the beard.
It was the capital of the United States before D.C.
Wow.
Had the capital of the United States here, like the Pennswood. Is that how we call it? The Pennsylvania? I got stuff, man.
Look at what I'm doing here, babe. You had a good idea.
You hid it in the whiskers.
I'm hiding it in the whiskers.
They got a really pretty blue flag with 2 rampant horses.
Yeah, John actually has a lot of flagpole.
I have 3 flagpoles.
And he really, because he was a Boy Scout, he really likes a flagpole.
Well, the front flag, we have flagpoles with flags.
And we like to fly a flag.
And when there's not flags on them, there's decorations.
Look at that. I hid the signature in his face.
Look at that.
And my 47, this is the best ever. And Tammy Edwards is laughing. And I'm getting cinnamon. This is absolutely stunning. This is Debbie Varnador. And Maisha says, can I paint Dumbledore? If I said your name wrong, I'm sorry. It went up my scroll really fast too. But yeah, I would love to paint Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, it's hard to know how litigious. I have a watercolor painting of Dumbledore on the channel. If you go to the channel and you do the search and go watercolor Dumbledore or wizard. Maybe I tried to avoid getting in trouble by saying, oh no, that was Gandalf.
You know what?
I wasn't Dumbledore. That was Gandalf. I was thinking the actor, not the character. Gandalf. I need to do Dumbledore.
And Radagast.
Radagast. And Diane would there's a Liberty Bell and the Pennsylvania Hall.
I know.
And the Great Penguin says, this looks amazing. Sorry you've not been here for the past few days. Busy in work. We totally get it. So, Saturday is the 16 by 20 with the written out step by step with all the extra help where we do the steps and we do the recaps. And it's much more beginner friendly, but it's just super gorgeous. And you can go see the thumbnail. I'm going to replace the digital sketch with the actual painting here pretty soon, probably tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So you can check her out. If Angela's still on, Angela Anderson does live on Tuesday night. So go by and check that out and say hi and send our love. And if you're here on Mondays in the evening, just chilling out and going around, My mom does a live show. So those are things to do. Also, if you check my little recommended, I've got lots of cool people in there. And then Pamela says, do not forget to look up Tumbas Dambo. The Giants have a whole really cool story behind them. I'm going to do it. I'm going to look it up. And you know what, guys? Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you in an easel really soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.